own space, justice is a long way away.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Space Game Junkie Podcast. I, as always, am your co-host, Brian, and joining me, as always, is your co-host, Spaz.
Reaching for the stars and your wallet.
Your co-host, Julie.
Enjoying Star Trek in the great Midwest of the US.
No, we're not. No. Your co-host, Thorsten. God damn it.
Money is a sign of poverty.
Oh, God, that's so accurate. Your co-host, Jacob.
Rule of acquisition number 34. War is good for business.
Very nice. And your co-host, David.
Welcome to Lynx Corporation. Oh, by the way, we own you.
What is that from? I know that. What is that from?
Our Spaceship Breaker. You played it.
Oh, right.
Breaker.
Okay.
That one.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
That's a very different economy in that game.
Oh, yeah.
You're buying yourself out of debt. So hello, friends. First off, let me just say at the top here, apologies for not having a show last week. My internet went out about 15 minutes before we were supposed to go on, and it just would not stop going in and out. And so it was like that for over an hour.
It chose death that particular day, and we had to deal with it. Or rather, we couldn't do anything about it.
And I never have outages. I so rarely have outages. So I don't know what happened. So I apologize for that. But hopefully we'll be fine this week. Hopefully, knock on IKEA wood. So friends, we have a topic this week, suggested by our co-host, Julie. We're going to talk about economically focused space games. And there are a lot of them, like a lot. Like you could say Elite might be. Would Elite be the first one? You think? Is that the first?
I'd say.
No, it's definitely not the first.
What would you say is the first?
I don't know really the first, but the really first good one, that was Mule.
Yeah, I think that probably is the first that would qualify.
Which one? I didn't hear it. Which one?
Mule.
Oh, I never played Mule. Did that come out before Elite?
Yeah, before.
Okay, I never played Mule because I don't know if it made it to DOS by that point, or maybe I just wasn't. I wasn't into that kind of game when it came out. I never played Mule. I know
I guess it was only on the 8-bit computers back then.
Oh, so did it ever cut? So it was only on the Commodores and the
Ataris and
Atari. I had it on Atari.
Oh, no wonder I never played. Yeah, it never made it to. Wow, it made it to the Nintendo Entertainment System. Apparently,
it did get a port. Yes, about a couple years later, I think.
Yeah, 1990.
Yeah, a couple years later.
1990, apparently.
Yeah.
But it was never on a computer I owned. Well, okay. Apparently, it came out for Windows in 2021, but that's a different kettle of fish. So yeah, Mule was 1983. That's a year before Elite, if I recall correctly. So I never played that one. Can you what is the deal with Mule? I mean, can you guys explain to me what the deal is with Mule? I've never played it, so I don't know.
I leave it to you, Spaz.
No, you can take this one, Torsten.
No.
You've played more of it than I have. You actually have played more of it than I have.
No, I haven't played more than you.
Thorsten, explain it.
Oh, for crying out loud. Look,
I barely played it at the time.
Spaz, you're better able to explain it.
So it is your running a company, using your mules to collect your resources and send them up. You worked with other players or against them, typically against, because it's the precursor to one of the other games that I was going to mention, which is Off-World Trading Company.
Oh, interesting.
It was a big inspiration for Off-World Trading Company.
Oh.
Yeah. Because it is a classic in terms of the economic side of things, you really don't get that in other games of around that time.
Oh, okay.
Because they don't really focus on a lot of the other games of the time just didn't focus on the economics of things, and Mule certainly did. You could certainly play it as a straight up backstabby kind of deal.
Oh, and it's 4 players on the same machine. I take it.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I'm looking at the screenshots from the Moby Games link. This looks. I don't know if I could grok this. I'll be perfectly honest with you.
It's not necessarily that complex. It's not that complex necessarily, but there's a lot of layers to it. That's the best way I can put it.
Yeah, maybe I should find a way. Maybe I should find a way to emulate it.
And there's, I just noticed that on Steam there is an announcement for Mule Returns.
What?
I link it in the chat.
Mule Returns. Interesting.
Yeah, I've linked it in the chat.
So I'll tell you, the people I know who have played this game, whenever it's brought up, like they have that kind of like far off, like, oh yeah, like that kind of, oh, those are the days kind of look. You know what I mean? Oh, look at that. I will add that to my wish list. Mule Returns. Wow. There's not even a coming soon or anything. It's just there. Like there's not even a coming soon or anything, or not.
No, release date is coming soon. It shows it on the top right. I see it.
Does it?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah.
For me, it goes right to reviews and then about the game. I don't see any. Oh, I see.
At the top right of the info page.
Okay. Sorry, folks. All right. I'll have to keep an eye on that. Yeah, maybe I'll emulate this somehow. I wonder which version is the best. I'll figure it out.
Always the original.
No, I mean, I wonder, like, should I emulate the Atari? Should I emulate the Commodore? Should I emulate the PC-88? Like, which version should I try to emulate? Because,
for
like,
variety's sake.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the day. You remember the days when there were multiple platforms that computer games would come out on, namely the 80s.
I do. It wasn't that far out. Technically, it still happens.
Does it though?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, it does.
Only say
It still happens.
I guess.
Friendly
Anyway,
reminder: the year of our Lord is 2024, and Bloodborne still doesn't have a PC port. Sorry.
wait, Bloodborne, is that a Wii game?
It's a FromSoft game.
Oh,
from the
That's a
PlayStation
slight
3.
tangent.
oh, the PlayStation 3. Well, Birds of Steel
Yes,
also doesn't have a port, and probably never
Which
will get
these
one.
days is apparently a retro console.
I still play mine regularly. It's become a motor store machine.
Congratulations on your retro console. Regardless, economics.
Yes, sorry, folks. Tangent. All right, so I guess we can agree that Mule is probably the first economic space game.
Recorded, at least.
At least, I mean, there were a lot. There
might have been others, but it's
I can't
it's hard
think
to say. If any others are. I would say there aren't any others as influential as Mule.
Well, that too, but like I played a lot of like basic games that came out. I played a lot of like arcade games. I don't remember any. God, I think the first game I remember that had money in it was did Gauntlet have money in it? I think Gauntlet
had gold in it.
Yeah, that's the first one I'm thinking.
Gold in it. Gold just represented your score, though. It didn't actually.
Yeah, that's true. It wasn't really money. But the first one.
Go ahead.
No, after you.
I've got to mention though, there were a lot of text-based economic games, especially as listings in some computer magazines back then.
Oh, okay.
But as far as I remember, the first real good one was Mule.
Okay. I'm guessing the first one I played was probably Elite, so that's why I think of it. And Elite's economy was fairly bare bones. It was there, but
Yeah.
it was fair, kind of like Elite Dangerous. It's fairly bare bones. It doesn't really matter too much.
I mean, there are other games that actually, I can think of one other game around that time that used money, and that was Mercenary.
Oh yeah, those games. That's right. You guys,
Mercenary games.
You guys told me to play. You guys told me to play those. Oh yeah.
Well, I didn't say you'd enjoy the games because they are so very much of their time that I don't think you would enjoy them. But nevertheless, they're worth seeing as they are.
I love that we always come back to Mercenary and Elite.
Well, their hands reach far and wide. Their reaches far and wide, really.
I mean, Mercenary was a inspiration for No Man's Sky. Seriously.
And how many?
Because in terms of scope, two Mercenary games. But
I just realized we're 12 minutes and we've not established what an economic focused space game is.
That's a good point. I guess, folks, what we're talking about with in terms of an economic focused space game is one that not only has money but uses that money as a gameplay element, whether through trade or mostly through trade. I mean, a lot of games have money, but some games you just buy stuff with it, which really isn't an economy. We're talking about games that have at least the very basics of an economy, where like you can buy and sell and trade, and make money through alternate methods, like trading and whatnot, that don't involve like bounties and crap. So I guess that's what we're talking about.
Wait, they could include them, but that doesn't have to be the only way.
Yeah. Like there are many.
If an economic path is viable, then.
Yeah, and
well, beyond that, I wanted to say that even within the realm of those kind of games, there are different focused economic-based games. For example, if you talk about an Ixion, which is a lot like what I do for a living, it's more based on project management. If you are talking about X4, if you ignore the whole destroy the human race thing, which I did at one point because they had it coming, is
yeah.
Thanks. I made friends with the sorry, go ahead.
No, we had a not great run. I mean, it's time. Why not? Let someone else try it.
I figured out how to make friends with the drone race, and I stick them all on the human race. But basically, in X4, you can concentrate on building up your little economic space empire. And in EVE Online, and if you know me from other games, don't hate me because I mentioned it like people always do. To me, my interest in that was more based on just being a miner and supplying a larger corporation. So to me, there was like, even with an economics-based game, there were different areas of concentration that I enjoyed about each game.
Okay, that's fair. And there are quite a few games where economics are important, like EVE. But Jose, the game that I'm streaming in the background is called Spacebucks, which I thought was appropriately titled for our topic.
Lovely.
It's a Sierra game from 1990.
1991 or 1992?
No, I think it's later. I think it's later than that. I think it's like 95. I think 95, 96, 96. It was a Windows.
Oh, it was so late. Wow.
It was a Windows 3.1 game, you guys. There weren't a lot of those. So I guess when I think of an economically focused game, I guess I think of a game where making money is the primary goal. It's not combat. It's not exploration. I mean, those things can make you money, but those are other funnels into your economy. And there are quite a few games that where the economy is like front and center, like Spacebucks, like Off-World Trading Company, like I guess Eve. I guess Eve, the economy is front and center.
Eve unfortunately matches that description very well.
But let's start with the basics, I guess. Like, does anyone remember their first economically focused space game? Like, I already said mine was Elite. So what about you guys? Do you remember the first game that you played that had an active economy as its like primary impetus?
Eve Online.
Okay.
And here's the stop me if I've told this story before, I don't know, but the deal is that was my first interest in the game, and especially the complexity of it. And at the time, I don't know if they still do, they had an economist on staff, right? And there were, when you consider how much the people who were the miners and people interested in the economy like me, there were players. Can I swear on this podcast?
Absolutely. We try and keep it to a minimum, but you can do it.
There were developers who had a song called Harden the Fuck Up. And it was based, and to me, like people like me who didn't like to be ganked. What? And so, yeah. And then eventually CCP got sold, and my first thought was, who has to harden the fuck up now? And so the thing is, though, is along came somebody who decided to have something he started called Hulkageddon, which may or may not still be there. And basically he was going to go through the universe and he was going to gank all of the people who are minors like me, right? And so the deal is he was doing this ostensibly to get rid of all the bots, but he was preying on everybody. And so on the other podcast, I said, and I called this person out by name, and I said, it is similar to Adolf Hitler invading Poland and saying it's for the good of the Polish people. You are hurting the game. And I do understand that the CCP said, well, it's just another player-based activity. But it chased a lot of people in emergent gameplay, they called it. And the thing is, after a stressful day of doing project management like Ixion, and yes, for me, the game is like coming home, asking a truck driver to come home and drive around the living room. But the thing is, I just wanted it's mine. I was part of a large corporation, and I said, I don't do the manufacturing. I had a ship where I could take my ship, put the miner in that ship, and I could fly wherever they wanted to, including nullsec space, because people always used to say, you horrible casual gamer. And I said, yes, I was part of a nullsec corporation too, so blow it out the other end. And but yet along came this. And ultimately, though, what drove me away from the game, which is sad, because it's like in high-sec space, you're supposed to be safe, but you're not. And it got to the point where somebody who had been banned permanently, he decided to come back under another name and make it his goal to war deck us for a rock-solid year. And
explain to the audience what that means.
Okay, so the deal is this, and I don't know if that's still something that you can do, but instead of guilds, they have corporations, right? And so they have some corporations are based on many different things. Mine was part of a larger corporation that was more economic based, and just having fun and introducing new players to the game. And until somebody says, you didn't play for long, played it for 6 years, and in nullsec and all the rest. And so if one corporation decides they don't like another corporation for whatever reason, even if it's just for grins, they can declare war on your corporation. And that means basically nowhere is safe, including high security space where there's a police force. And they can blast you out of space and make your life miserable. And in this particular case, this person did it because he thought he was banned because of something we did, which is absolutely not true. And so his goal was to drive us all out of the game, and he succeeded. But my interest in that game was just, I didn't want to, I felt like Captain Dunsel last time we were out, did the pilot, based games. And yes, I was always been a big fan of Star Trek, TREK, the old scientist, and that's how my sister and I met, in fact. And so I said, well, my interest in space games, other than just like, the whole arcadey thing where you hop in the ship like No Man's Sky, has been toward the economic thing. And, what can I build? What can I manage? Because, like I said, it's kind of what I do for a living. And in some cases, I'm good at it, So I said, well, to me, space isn't always about blowing the other guy out of space. And I really wanted EVE Online, despite emergent gameplay, to just be someplace you can go and relax and have fun. But
no.
Increasingly, that was not the case. And so I said, look, I can't even take my Sherman freighter out anymore because it's going to get ganked, and it was damned expensive. And my original interest was just mine the ore, and it's an economic based game because the price of ore will fluctuate between place and place. You've got ore, you've got a nullsec corporation. You can have somebody bring it out to the nullsec space or just across to the other part of the system. And, the whole Gigan thing kind of ruined it for me. And yes, there was a YouTube video out there with me for a long time that portrayed me as Adolf Hitler, and I was infamous for a short while.
Well, this is why I primarily play single player games.
Same here.
What about the rest of you guys? Do you remember what your first economically focused space game was?
Mule.
Okay.
Mule and
Hands
Indeed.
down.
Same time.
Fair.
What about you, Jacob?
Apologies. Yes, I was busy with something. Can you repeat the question?
Do you remember what the first economically focused space game you played was that you can remember?
That's gonna be a tough one because economically focused. It might have been like X3.
That would count. That would totally count.
Yeah, I think I think that's the first one because my memory is a bit spotty.
That's totally fine.
Good pick. It's a good pick.
The one that jumps to mind is X3. I wasn't good at it. It taught me a lot about economic space games, namely the fact that I kind of don't like them. I am of the unfortunate issue that I really don't like, or rather, I am the inverse of Julie in this regard, in that I do very much like blowing people up a lot, potentially in multiplayer games, but preferably not. And the X series has a very strong focus on trading, economy, and managing a fleet. So my usual enjoyable gameplay of having just like one ship flying around and blowing stuff up
right there
is
with you.
doable.
It's not easy.
Doable,
it's not easy.
But it's not. But not only is it not easy, it's not necessarily fun.
Well, also the game.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Because the game expects you to be, doing economics and trading and other stuff that I got booted out of university once for already.
I mean, I do love the X Games, but yeah, if
they're
you want,
great. I'm just not the target audience.
Yeah, no. If you want to be a solo pilot that takes missions and does and makes money that way, it's really not for you. I mean, I don't
even like small fleet stuff that you'd find in what was it called? Void Destroyer? Yes, in games like Void Destroyer or Endless Sky. Those are still fun, but in X3 most of combat turns into is either very boring at a personal level or at a grander level. You play it like a very bad RTS where you select your entire fleet and right-click the enemy. And wait until you either win or lose.
Granted, I mean, there's stuff like Starport Gemini Warlords, which has a little bit of that mix of, you're flying around as the one ship, and you still can have a fleet. You don't necessarily have to.
Starport Gemini Warlords is absolutely great. It's not really an economic sim.
It kind of is.
No.
It has a bit of
an economy. It has the economic background.
But it's not the focus. Yeah. But the thing is, with the fleet in Starport Gemini Warlords, you just tell them to do other things. And they just go off and do other things. Like, I don't have to leash them around with me. Attack this guy, attack that guy.
Unlike the AI in X, which is simple but dumb. In Warlords, it's simple but just smart enough to not get itself killed the most obvious way.
Though you can have a massive fleet following you around just to have them follow you around.
If you want a massive death block following you around, you absolutely can.
Yeah, if you want to, sure. But like with X, they really like point you in that direction. Like, hey, what about this, huh? What about this? You want this, right? This is what you want to do, right?
Absolutely.
Like, here's the thing. The experience I thought I would enjoy in X, I got out of Star Shadow.
Oh,
because
okay.
I know that's a very weird comparison.
No,
Star Shadow is basically what I wanted, kind of, out of the combat part of the X Games.
I mean, the X Games do a great job making a dynamic universe and making a huge ticking clock with lots of pieces. It's a very dynamic, lots of moving parts. It's really great, and so I totally see the Star Shadow comparison in that regard. Totally see it.
Yes. Obviously, Star Shadow, you're part of a carrier task force, or a space carrier task force, with all the consequences thereof. It's far more focused, and because of the focus, I enjoy it more.
Yeah, agreed. David, did you remember the name of the game you wanted to talk about? That your first?
No, I don't. Maybe you can help me.
I was going to say, hit us with what you remember, and maybe we could figure it out for you.
All right, chat. Time to do some investigative journalism.
I love this part of video games. Like there's what's that Reddit subreddit tip of my joystick that someone like right.
I stumbled upon it here when I was trying to search for it.
I love that community.
So give us the story.
Give us what you know.
So in the early 2000s, there was this site which had the same name as this gaming news outlet, which was kind of weird because that's probably the reason why the site doesn't exist anymore. That was named Games Revolution. I'm pretty sure. They had a bunch of freeware games people uploaded there, like, "Hey, try out my game" or something. And one of them was this 2D top-down capital ship space game that had a few points where you actually had to go through a point-and-click adventure mode or viewing screen where you could interact with your crew and stuff. The developer was about to make a third game that was going to switch over to 3D, but of course I don't remember names, so I can't see what happened with that.
I was going to say Flash Trek, but no, not really.
So when I got stuck in a game, I was like, "Oh no, I can't get any far in the game." I wrote to the developer there. "This game sucks. I can't do anything. My weapons are too weak and stuff." He then said, "Have you tried mining?" Wait, there's mining? How do you do that? Just go shoot some asteroids and then haul it back to base and sell it there. Wait, what? Okay. So I did, and then I could just buy better gear suddenly. So yeah, I guess that's that should probably count. But I don't remember the name.
So it was like was it a browser game? It was
no.
Oh, okay.
It was a game you downloaded. So. And it had some absolutely awful, at the time, early 2000s, I want to draw anime graphics for characters and stuff. So,
or like Newgrounds style?
Yeah, almost, I suppose. I don't remember the name, but I'm pretty sure that the third game was supposed to have the subtitling Commanders. I'm pretty sure. That's the only thing I pretty much can give you.
Not sure on that one.
Yeah,
yeah, you were piloting a larger capital ship, and yeah, you could equip it with different guns and shield generators and stuff. But I don't remember the name. So yeah, chat, if you can find it out for me, it would help. I'm trying my best to do some research here as well.
Either I found your post on Reddit about it, or asking what it is, or someone else has this exact same issue.
Okay, yeah, I haven't run a topic there yet, so no, that's not me.
Oh, did they find an answer?
Nope.
Oh man.
5 months ago, no comments.
Oh, boo. No, I just put in a bunch of stuff into Google based on what you told me. Game Revolution, Space Mining, Combat Game Commander, you know? And,
yeah, basically. That's what I've been searching for.
I'm not getting a damn thing. Oh, man. But whatever that game was, that's the first one you remember where it's like, oh, I could do something to make money.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, interesting. What the? Okay.
I'll have to do some more research and see if I can find it.
Yeah, if you can find it, I'd be fascinated because I usually play all the things, especially in the 2000s when there weren't that many things. So I played like freaking everything that I could find. Most of it was Russian or Eastern European at that point.
Oh yeah.
Like Star Wolves and the Tomorrow War and Parkan. But yeah,
Space Rangers.
Yeah, Space Rangers, which I guess has an economy. I guess sort of.
It does. Oh, it absolutely does. You can you can make a lot of your game as a trader. In fact, that's one of the 3 paths is being a trader.
Yeah, I always forget that because I never pick it because I'm terrible at it. I'm terrible at it. I forgot about that. I completely forgot about that.
I was going to put that game on my list because of that. Because you really could make your way through the game as a trader, even though, yeah, there's a huge combat focus too. Your method of doing that, fighting the Dominators as a trader, is doing investments so that you're investing in the fleets.
Wait, what?
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that at all. I've never done a trader in Space Rangers, so I know.
In Space Rangers, that's your way of fighting the Dominators. You use your economic power in order to boost up the planetary fleets so they can fight back against the Dominators.
What? Okay.
And if you never engaged as a trader, then you wouldn't know that. Of course not. You just have to fight them directly.
Okay.
Brian's mind is blown.
I think I have to reload Space Rangers 2 now. Is this the first one or the second one? Or both of them do
second
this?
One. Second one I'm thinking. Yeah, second one is the one I'm thinking of.
I'm terrible at trading, but I might have to figure that out because that's amazing. I didn't know that. That's wow. So you can help the war by investing in the war effort.
Yeah, I mean, you can invest in new stations and whatnot, right?
That's true.
You can invest
That's
in
true.
planets. That's how that works. Is you also get, with enough money, you get the option to buy fleets for defense of systems. And so you build up the military that way.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my! Oh, okay, oh, wow. Okay, Well, my mind is
You had
blown.
no idea.
My mind is blown. My mind is blown. Holy. Okay, I'm gonna have to revisit this game because I've always tried to do it as like a kind of mission based bounty hunter guy, and it never works. I always peter out because it's like, okay, everything's too hard now. I can't get anywhere. I'm done.
I mean, it takes a lot of build up. You know, you have to build up trade networks of stuff. You can even do things like leaving stashes on planets when you know that the prices aren't good, and you come back later, and then you sell off from the stashes.
Oh my god, I didn't know that either. Dear Lord. Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, well, again, mind blown. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to revisit Space Rangers. I guess HD now they call it. Because I didn't know that. Because I always avoid the trader because I'm like, I don't know anything about trading. I'm terrible at trading. I'm just gonna try combat instead, and I'm always terrible at the combat, so I always die. It's like I'm just done with it. Okay, I guess I'm gonna try the trading thing and see if that works. There are ways you could like keep track of prices too in that game, right? I think there are tools.
Yeah, there were. Yeah, and they would periodically change, so you could send out. Whenever you stopped at a planet, you could pay to get the nearest prices for things.
Okay, I'm gonna have to try this. I'm gonna have to try this because that sounds fantastic, and I'm interested now. So, all right. So, I guess my next question then, we've talked about the first games. What games do you guys think has like the best economy in space games, or like the one you've enjoyed engaging with the most in terms of the economy? And I will start because I've played a lot of economically focused space games. And the one that comes to mind as having the economy that I had the most fun engaging with was Helium Rain. I'm not even economically focused, but that game gave you all the tools you needed to be decent at trading and building things and everything. And it really felt like it was a game made for, well, not specifically for economic novices such as myself, but it understood that economic novices existed. And it added tools to help people like me. So when I think of games that like economic games,
Yeah, I mean that one had you doing stuff on your own at first, and then you eventually get a couple trade ships, and then you're setting up a trade network.
Yeah,
logistics network as
but
well.
it's not hard to do. It's not complicated, you know.
Right.
Oh, I guess another one is Jumpgate. Jumpgate has a very detailed economy, and if you have the right tools, which people have made, they're third party tools. But if you have the right tools, you know where to go to make money, where to go to make. If you need a piece of equipment, or if the game needs more of this piece of equipment, you can do it that way. Jumpgate has a tremendous economy. So I think that's the other one for me is those two games, Helium Rain and Jumpgate.
One thing to add.
Yeah.
One thing to add is that Helium Rain is completely free.
Oh yeah, that's right. If you haven't played Helium Rain, if you're listening to this podcast, of course you've played Helium Rain. But if some of you somehow listening to the sound of my voice have not played Helium Rain, it is completely free now. Sadly, the developer decided to get out of game development, which is that's a shame. I get it.
He burned out, which is unfortunate.
Very unfortunate, but yeah. I totally get it. It's hard to be a game developer. My sympathies, but he made his games free, and Helium Rain is tremendous, absolutely tremendous.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. If you haven't played Helium Rain, do it, please.
Let's get a link. Let's get a link in the chat for people.
I played it.
It's already there. It's already there.
Is it?
Ran into the X problem.
In stream, yeah, it's in the stream chat. Person put it up there.
Did that already?
Oh, weird. My chat thing isn't working for some reason. Oh, there it is. Okay. Anyway, yeah, thank you, Thorsten. Yeah, Helium Rain is great, you guys. It's really, really great, and it respects your time. It's got it's got a tremendous UI, it's got a very detailed economy, but because the UI is so good, you can even if you're an idiot like me, you can grok it. Unlike a lot of other games that have an economy, like you don't know how many games of Off-World Trading Company I've lost. So many. So what about you guys? What would you say is the for you the game with the best economy, like the one that you've had the most fun engaging with, if that makes sense?
Ixion.
Okay. Yeah, Ixion is great.
Let me link it here.
Yeah, Ixion is great. It's a space station builder, kind of in the vein of Startopia, but I would call it like a slightly harder, more serious Startopia, basically.
If you get stuck, a lot of people do. I will put something else in the show notes. That will keep you from dying horrendously and killing off the human race in your opening step. But the thing is, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I will add that link to the post.
But the thing is, I like this because, granted, for me, it's like saying, okay, come home, drive around the living room. But the reason I like it is because it's most like what I do professionally, which is project management. So it's not down to the point where, okay, we're going to do cash flow statements now, which I could do if I had to, but that's no fun. It is, what it does for me is it says, okay, here are an overview of, say, 100 properties, and your goal is to guide these properties and everything overall so that the project becomes the survival of the human race, even to the point where, okay, whether you have problems with the unions and things like this. And so it's kind of an overall approach to the whole thing. And I think that's why I like this one the best. And the graphics are just astounding.
It's a gorgeous game. No question.
Even though it's got like survival, it's a city builder, there's a nice little story behind it to me. I mean, it's not like you're going to get some in-depth story like a Skyrim or something like that, but it's not just like someone dropped you in the middle of the wilderness and let you beat on trees or something. So I think that's what I like about it, because it's you have to be, project management is the thing, and as it goes along, it's more in depth and more challenging. But one of the things I've tried to learn from this podcast and being on this podcast is, it used to be when I saw this kind of game, I would run the other way screaming because the challenge would be too daunting. But I've tried to get to enjoy games that are more of a challenge from being on this podcast. And this is one of my earlier choices that say, I'm going to really learn this game.
That's a good one. That's a real good one, folks. Yeah, Ixion is great. I streamed it a while back. It's really, really good. It is complex, but I was able to grok most of it. So if an idiot like me can grok it, anyone can. What about the rest of you guys? What games do you feel really gave you a fun time engaging with their economy?
For me, it would be the X games, to be honest.
Okay, that's an excellent choice.
From the first one, X Beyond the Frontier to now X4. I guess they have, for single-player games at least, one of the best economies.
Yeah, they have. They have an excellent economy. You really like. Even though I'm too dumb to engage with the economies in those games. You can see that it's really dynamic, very it's not just influenced by the player, but all the other traders going around. Sometimes you can just sit there and watch, traders go back and forth and prices change and everything. It's really a fascinating Swiss watch of a thing, like I said earlier. I can totally see that one, especially because that's their primary focus. So they'd want to do it well. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're space games, but space is not the primary focus of that thing, if you know what I mean. Space is just a setting for the economy to happen, basically. But yeah, no, the X games are great in that respect, no question. And they're still pumping out stuff for X4,
Which is great, in my opinion.
Yeah, good on them.
One of the reasons I really like that game is if you get tired of the economy, you can just hop in one ship, and start blasting away at the pirates.
I'm just not good at that. Maybe it's because I can never find the pirates. And then when I do, I get blowed up. So I don't know. I'm glad those games exist. I just don't think they're for me personally. But they're what? They've been doing this for over 20 years now. So, oh God, it's going to be 25 this year, right? It's like the first X game came out in 99, right? So it's 25 years this year.
Yeah, you are right.
Oh my God. That might be one of the longest running space game series, if you think about it.
I'm getting older.
All right. Aren't we all? I think that might be the longest running space game series. Well,
that is still active. Maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Besides Elite.
Oh yeah, Elite. And then the guy who makes the Evercron games, he's been making games since like 98, 97. So I'm going to count that. Those are also good economic games, by the way, if you haven't played those.
We haven't talked a lot about
Evercron?
Evercron, yes. But also Elite, especially Frontier Elite 2, which I'm massively biased towards.
Yeah.
Yeah, me either.
We talked about it a little bit earlier because it's the first one I played of these economic games. But yeah, we haven't talked much about Elite, and that is a very economically focused, and its ilk, like Pioneer and whatnot, very economically focused. But I like how you can just be a taxi driver in those games.
It's fun.
I think that's why I like Taxi not so much. So I think David and Jacob, I don't think you've chimed in. Do you guys have a game that you think of as like your most fun economic space game?
Well, David is doing investigative journalism in the background, but in my case, that's hard to say. The closest would be Star Traders Frontiers.
Okay.
And honestly, the reason for that isn't necessarily because it has an in-depth economy, but because it has an economy that affects you insofar as even if you're not doing a bunch of trading, you still have to do a lot of maintenance for your ship. You have to figure out fuel, supplies, and crew, which is something a lot of space games just kind of skip over.
Right.
And on top of that, of course, it's an absolutely brilliant game. But again, you're asking me like you're asking a person who has not drank, who hates coffee, who is not a fan of coffee. Hey, what's your favorite blend?
That's not unfair.
I don't know.
That's not unfair.
I don't know the brown one.
Coffee ice cream. You can say coffee ice cream.
I don't know what that is.
To be fair, though, Star Traders Frontiers is a. Even though you don't necessarily have to play it as a trading game, its trading game is pretty good.
Yeah, it is great as a trading game, absolutely. I wouldn't know. I've not done it. I tend to load up either a ton of a lot of combat abilities or a lot of exploration abilities because I like shooting people and gotcha.
Fair.
Sorry.
Fair. I end up using, and that's actually my pick, is because of the trading game. The trading game is pretty good in that I will pick up missions knowing that I'm going to a specific place and then free trade on my way there. So that is how I make most of my money when I'm playing that game, is through the incidental free trading as I'm already on my way to do a thing.
So you like grab one bit of item from a place and then check when next on your route it's getting a lot of profit.
Exactly.
A lot of games with an economy, that's a good strategy. Like, never have an empty cargo hold. Like, if wherever you're leaving, check what's the cheapest thing, buy a bunch of that, and then see where you can sell it. You know, it's a great strategy.
Or like what I do in Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, which is maybe have 75% full if I'm going with a trading ship, if I'm using the Durston or Beluga. Same sort of deal. If I'm already on my way to do a thing like a delivery mission, I grab more of that thing because I already know, even without checking prices, that it's going to be in higher demand at the other end. So
that's an interesting point. I've not done any trading in Rebel Galaxy Outlaw because.
Well, I'm talking about free trading though, just because if you're already on your way there, it never hurts to have that little bit of extra. Although making money is so easy in that game.
It's so easy. Like, it's after a while, it doesn't even matter anymore. And
that's
good.
Part of that is because there's no sink for money. Like, once you buy the coolest, once you buy the
once
coolest,
you get your stuff, you're
once
set.
you buy the coolest, fanciest warship and the coolest, fanciest stuff for that ship, you kind of just
the only sink is if you go through the risky gates and you don't have the upgraded warp drive. That's the only sink that I can think of, because that's the only way you tend to lose gear.
Yeah, agreed. But even that, it doesn't cost a ton of money after a while. It's like, I'm just going to buy that, and then you're fine.
In all the times I've been streaming it over the last several weeks, I would just go around, shoot stuff, not even pick up anything other than pilots, and just make enough from selling off the pilots as I land.
Money. You make no money selling off the pilots, though. That's like nothing. It's like 70 credit or something. It's like nothing.
No, you don't understand, Brian. I made more money just by dropping off the pilots because I take basically no hull damage. So I don't even fire off that many missiles. I just have almost no upkeep to deal with. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah, I like flying around a Beluga with an empty cargo hold and just picking up all the random stuff from the pilots I shoot down.
Well, I mean, there's that too.
I will fill up quickly.
Yeah. Take everything not nailed down.
Exactly. Well, except pilots, I shoot them down always, every time.
Well, of course, pilots need to be nailed down with gunfire.
Gotta murder them. Gotta commit. Yeah. Gotta have some little war crimes as a treat.
As one does.
A little bit of war crimes. So to wrap up, I don't want to get too reductive here, but I want to talk about disappointing economies. Because
the one we're in.
Well, yes. Oh my god. But
if we were live, I just flash a giant yellow sign that says satire, like it's Monty Python.
This is not a blueprint.
Like
this dystopian economic nightmare is not a blueprint for a society. Stop trying to make that dystopian nightmare into a reality.
Guys, it's going great for the ruling class that has all the capital. It's going great for them. I mean, the never-ending wars, the shrinkflation, the greedflation, it's going great for all of them. It's going great for the ruling class. It's the rest of us that's like, okay, where do I build my guillotine? Anyway,
satire aside.
So, because when I think of, like, I'm just going to start with freelancer. because I love that game. Let me get that out of the way. I love Freelancer, but it's like they're like, oh yeah, it's an open space game. We should have some kind of trading. I don't know, put some shit in it. All right. And it's kind of like what they did. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. There's like no dynamic economy, nothing changed prices. It's like, oh, I just found this in a box. I'm going to sell it. That's the only thing. That's the only kind of economy Freelancer has. And given the type of game it is, it's just, that's the one that disappoints me the most, really, because I love that game. Everything else about that game to me is stellar, except the afterthought of an economy.
Yeah, the game pretends to be open world. It nominally is, but there's
mostly,
less to do there.
Yeah, I mean, it is mostly, but after a while, it's like, okay, I'm going to move on to the next thing in the story now. And again, love Freelancer, don't get me wrong, but like, I don't know if they ran out of time or they just didn't care or what, but the quote unquote economy in that game.
The game does have massive signs of a game that was semi-rushed or rushed towards the end.
Well, it had to be because like Chris Roberts was in charge of it for a while and it got way too ambitious. And then they're like, nope.
Doesn't that ring a bell?
Cut it down, ship it out. And I love what we got. Don't get me wrong, but like, it was going to be a lot bigger than it ended up being in the end.
Well, yes, but we know what happens when you give Chris Roberts exactly zero deadlines.
Question: has anyone played Star Citizen recently enough to know if it has any kind of economy? I haven't.
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I just was curious because the last time I played it was that time I flew out of an airlock. Like I fell out of a ship going at warp. That's the last time I played it, like 3 years ago or whatever.
Charming.
I haven't touched it since.
David?
Now, there is one game I'm surprised you didn't mention because it's supposed to be an economic game or at least a sequel to one.
Yeah.
And we're talking about disappointments.
Yes.
There was this little thing called Wing Commander Privateer 2.
Oh, do we have to talk? Oh God! Fucking son of a bitch. Okay, so I think the people who made Privateer 2 hate their players. I really think they do because you know how you have to make money in that game. You know how you have to trade. You know a lot of space games when you want to trade something, you have a cargo hold and you put your stuff in your cargo hold and you fly it to the other place and you sell it. Right? That's typical. Privateer 2, you have to hire a freighter and then put all the stuff in that freighter and then escort that freighter to your destination. So basically, you have to make your own escort mission to make money in Privateer 2. When have we ever liked escort missions? Like when have any of us ever liked escort missions? I hate Privateer 2 so much. Flames at the side of my face, heaving. No, that game is a disappointment on multiple levels, but the fact that to make money, you have to basically make your own escort mission just makes me think that it was a big middle finger to the players. And the sad thing is, Privateer 2 is a weird, decent movie and a terrible game. It's like, if you want, go just watch the roughly 2-hour cut of the movie bits from the game on YouTube. It's got everybody. It's got Clive Owen. It's got Christopher Walken, John Hurt. Is that his name? No, Jim Hurt. John Hurt. Jürgen Prochnow is in there. David Warner is in there. Like it's a freaking who's who of a cast. It's a terrible game. It's such a bad.
But the movie was great, yeah.
Yeah, the movie bit was decent. It's the game you had to get through to get to the. Like I finished it back in the day because I love these actors. That was the first thing I ever saw Clive Owen in, by the way. Like I'd never seen him in anything before that.
First impression.
No, he did fine. Like it wasn't the acting wasn't a problem. Like
the everything else was.
Everything, yes. I thought you were going
to play that game. It's part of why it's part of why I like bringing it up, because I played it with like minimal commitment because I bought it for like $2 off GOG, because that's as much as people are willing to pay for it. Apparently, probably too much.
I mean, it wasn't supposed to be a privateer game either. Like, it was going to be its own thing, but then they decided to slap on the privateer name for some reason.
Even without it, it wouldn't have been good.
No, it wouldn't. I mean, it wouldn't have helped. No, but I mean,
and apparently it was developed by the people who made Starlancer, which was apparently good.
Is it? I know Chris Roberts' brother had something to do with it, but I didn't know if they. I don't know about the through line with Starlancer, which is a good game. It's like one of the few games you could play co-op in the same squadron. Like, that's kind of amazing, you know. Yeah, Starlancer is actually good. But yeah, I thought you were going to talk about Elite Dangerous. I thought that's where you were going.
No. That I can also talk about. Do we want to?
I mean, it is that game.
No, we won't. No, we don't want.
Well, just real quickly, that's another like one of these open games that pretends to have an economy but really doesn't. You know.
Yeah, especially because specifically it tries to be EVE Online but doesn't commit to it. It tries to have this big open multiplayer world that you can go into, but also it has like a solo mode that people can go into to not interact with the others, but also they can sort of interact with the world at large, except not really. So in the end, no one really can interact with the world at large.
Yeah.
So it all... the hilarious, of that in space, no one can hear you scream, but you can hear the game's really good sound design, and that's the only thing it has going for it.
Best thing about that game. Anyone else have any economies that they're disappointed with, or economic space games that ultimately disappointed them? Before we wrap up, I mean, if not, that's fine. We can just wrap up.
No, because I have learned the hard way to, especially from, and no, I'm not trying to brown nose you a bit, to listening to people who review games like yourself, right? That before I invest $60, and it's not really an investment, before I plunk down $30 to $60 in a game, to really watch a lot of games, and I mean watch a lot of reviews, because just because somebody thinks it's a great game, I might think it's a horrible game.
Yeah.
And there are some reviewers out there who's like one that said, "Oh, see, J.K. Rowling, and all the people who don't like her backfired," and I said, "That's it, I'm done." But other reviewers, I said, I really trust the person's viewpoint, but I have learned a hard time, although I just wanted to say that FOMO is a very hard factor to ignore. And even if I don't play it, Pal World is on my Steam library.
Oh boy. Well, I guess you'll have to tell us how it goes once you decide to start playing it.
I'm also a Pokemon fan, because when I was growing up, it was things like Pokemon and Game Boys, and I didn't come from a dirt poor family, but close, so now I'm treating myself to all the toys.
I'll be honest, I don't know why that game is so popular.
I've seen on other servers people who've played it for 20 hours, 30 hours, and then gotten tired of it, because the game loop at the end game isn't really much of a loop.
But it's still in early access, right?
Yeah, just came out.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I've seen on other servers I'm on, so take that with a grain of salt, but still.
But still, what I found interesting is it has a lot of promise depending on what they develop it. For example, how many survival games actually have a city someplace? And it's in early access, so there's a lot of, and the whole AI thing is, well, you can't copyright AI games, AI artwork anyway. So, and if Nintendo and Game Freak aren't concerned, who am I to be concerned?
Yeah, I think people just want an alternative to the whole Pokemon formula. That's what I think anyway.
Soon as I'll admit it, soon as somebody said Pokemon with guns, it was crazy enough that I said, "Wow, okay."
All right, I guess we'll wrap it up then. That's going to do it for today, folks. Next week, we're going to talk about a topic we all don't agree on. How much information should a game provide the player? This came up. This topic came up because I was streaming. What was it? The Planet Crafter?
Yes.
Yeah, the other day. And I thought it should have had more information for the player. And you disagree with me, Spaz. And because it's not that type of game, apparently. And so this will be a topic for us to talk about, like how we feel about like what kind of games should provide, what kind of in-game information, or do you have to go to a wiki, that sort of thing. So that's what we're going to talk about next week. Tomorrow, I don't know yet because a space game just came out, and I don't want to say the name because I asked for a key and I don't know if I'm going to get one. So if I don't get one, I'll be playing one thing, but if I do get a key, I'll be playing that thing. So we'll see. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks in the chat for being awesome. You are always awesome. We love you. Thanks to everyone for listening. And with that, we'll see you next time, folks. Have a great day. Be safe, be well, take care of each other. Please get your shots and wear a mask. Please wear a mask. They work. They really, really work. And we'll see you